And so now that you are here, well, first of all, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience? Anything you want to say, before we get started here and I ask you some questions?
Yes, I would like to say there's a lot of different writers out there that offer the same services you do, and I commend them because they are warriors as well on the front lines. Okay, I worked for
Hmm.
the military 39 years, and it's hard to get out of that military mindset. You know,
Yeah.
so what gravitated to me to you is because I'm from Michigan and you from Ohio. We have that rivalry going on. First of all, okay. Also, the fact that we're both African American and we're both women, and I support women, okay, and African American, okay, growing up in the 1960s, okay, because
Amazing. Yeah.
we have those amazing pioneers like Eleanor Roosevelt and Rosa Parks and a lot of the other leaders that come to mind. They paved the way for the road that you and I are walking on right now, right? Who's
Hmm.
going to pave the way for future generations? Okay, that's
Hmm.
me, you. Okay, we have to pick up that baton. Okay, and we have to courageously move forward, and we know that.
Hmm.
So,
Awesome.
so I connected with you on a deep level. Okay, first we built that connection through trust and common goals. Okay, and from there, that's where that genuine connection came from. Okay.
Amazing. Amazing. I totally agree with everything you said there. Always want to be, fostering and helping out that next generation as well and just, collaborate with each other and, push this thing forward, because, we all we got. So, and
Absolutely. I'm sorry. If we don't
no,
support each other, who's going to support us?
exactly. Exactly. I share the
Yeah.
same sentiment you do. And so, well, with that being said, like, let's take it back. Like, tell us in the audience about your background and, how did your story, just give us like a brief overview of, I know you, done, as like in the military and things like that, with, the Association of Engineers. You've gone through various, stages of life, that's, very valuable, for me to hear, and I think would be super valuable for the audience here to hear. So, tell us about your background and, how all of that led to you being on Substack, of all places, and, where your story as a writer began.
Well, growing up in the 1960s, growing up in the inner city of Detroit, you learn survival skills, you know, and a lot of the one of the writers that I really enjoyed was what was it, Langston Hughes, or we had it was a lot of writers back in the day, and they all hung together. They worked together. They learned together. And so and you read about all of these different things, and me being an introvert and also um faced with abandonment. My mother was schizophrenic and she had to be institutionalized, so I had to go live with my abusive uh father, who was a minister, okay, of all things, and my stepmother, who he beat at will whenever he goes off on his head for whatever reason. So I, what I found solace in music and writing. Okay, the best way to overcome this trauma that you're faced with is to write about it, because most times, who are you going to tell? Okay, who's going to listen? Who's going to believe you? Okay, so that was my saving grace, that in prayer. Okay, that got me through. So I'm like, well, how can I escape this life that I've been given? Okay, go to school. I went to school. I got my associate's degree, and I left my father's house, because if I had stayed there, he would have killed me, and I wouldn't be here to tell my story today. Okay, so I was like, I'm going to get out on my own. I'm going to go get my associate's degree. I went to school with a friend of mine. I went to school with. He's like, hey, my sister-in-law worked for the Corps of Engineers. I'm like, cool. He said she worked in program management. I was like, it sounds good to me. He said, give me your resume and I will give it to her. I'm like, cool, shoot. I'm like, this is my opportunity to get out the hood. I'm going for it. Okay. I did studying and everything on this organization. I had my little questions because I want to go, I want to dress to impress, and I want to get this job. This job is mine. Okay. I went in there and I talked to them, and just the fact, that associate's degree and the fact that I knew him and he knew somebody that got me in the door. And I'm like, then my character and personality got me the job. I'm like, here we go. I'm like, sir, if you give me this job, I'm gonna make it a career. And 39 years later, here I am. And I love that organization because of our values were in alignment with each other. Okay. And when it became not in alignment with my values, it was time to go because there was a lack of psychological safety. Anytime my supervisor called me, I immediately my blood pressure went up, my heart rate went up, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do now? What is it now? Okay, it was things was never good enough. Okay, she was never satisfied. So when the Trump administration came up and said, "Okay, we're going to give you a second round of um buyouts," I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here. I am fed up. You're not paying me enough money for this. Okay, you want me to do this job? This $400,000, $400 million project. You want me to do all the modifications and everything else? Then I got to take up all this crap. I said, you can have this job. He said between the 4th and the 11th of April, my window of opportunity was closing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not ready to retire. I want to really wait until July next year. And I'm like, you know what? Screw that. Who's to say I'm going to live to see tomorrow? I'm like, I'm out of here. You can have this job. And I haven't looked back since. So I'm not sure if I completely answered your question, but my writing has evolved over the years, okay? Because academic writing, you write a certain way, okay? And then, working for the military, that's technical writing. They want to know if this cost is fair and reasonable, okay? I have to break down the contractor's proposal, put it back together, and explain if it makes sense. So, and then with writing on Substack, it's completely different animal. And I was really intimidated, and I hadn't put my hero post out because I felt that I wasn't good enough. Okay, I struggled. I struggled really still with imposter syndrome because of the abuse that I have witnessed experienced throughout my life and the things I've dealt with throughout the military. That's why I've moved 8 times, because if somebody show you who they are, believe it. And I'm not gonna sit there and wait for the wrecking ball to come and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't get the notice that we were going to tear this building down." I'm not stupid enough to do that. I'm gonna get out of Dodge, okay? So, um, so I was so intimidated. I connected. I connected with Veronica. Veronica helped me so much. She's like, Margaret, you got this. You put this post there and you have never written anything. And I'm like, okay, fine. So, and then, I met you, connected with you, and you are an experienced writer who's been writing on Medium. And I'm like, hey, if I go to anybody, I'm gonna go to an experienced person. I'm not gonna go to somebody that don't know nothing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to somebody that knows and that I can, get get what I need from them to move ahead. That's what we do in the military. We find the resources we need to get the job done. If we don't have it, we search and say, okay, who does? And that's who we connect with. And that's what we have to do in life. Okay? So you brought everything into perspective because, as we know, storytelling is the most powerful tool in the world. If you stop and think about all the grandmas, great grandmas, all the kids sat around the fireplace or whatever, and they told these stories, and it connected us to our identity, to who we are. Okay, and now you see. All the people now are taking all of these older elderly people that have have invested all their time and energy into us, and we put them in somewhere in some nursing home, okay? And we forget about them. And in the meantime, all these kids are lost. They don't have this information. And you see all of this organizations are trying to strip our our heritage, everything that we held dear, to wipe it out history. And who's left to give us that we need? Because you think about it, when a baby comes into the world, the baby has to stay with the mother for so long so it can get the nourishment it needs to fight to survive. Okay, so we cannot allow this, because I travel in foreign countries, and I see these people, these individuals, they take their whole family and they stay together. They don't send the old people off to somewhere to die. They keep them in the family. They those that keeps the old young to be around the children. Okay, and it's a benefit to everybody, and we need to be around about this mindset. I'm sorry.
No, I love no, like, this is why I love talking. You always provide so much value, and you speak with such a pure confidence and huge belief, and I believe as well in what you're saying, and it's so powerful, and just your ability to connect with people is just so amazing, and that's honestly what drives me to you is also is just, how you're able to connect, how you're able to, bring certain things out of others in such a positive and authentic way that it's really contagious, and it really also lights up a room. And so, like, just learning your story, like, I had no idea. First of all, I had no idea. Like, I knew you're from Michigan, but like Detroit, like, come on now. Like, I love Detroit. I don't know why. There's just so many people in my life, and like, there's so like all the amazing people in my life that I've met. They all say they're from Detroit. I'm just like, how? Like, why is everyone I meet that's like amazing and cool from Detroit? Like, what? Must be something that y'all are eating down there or something like that for y'all to just grow up how you are. Cause like that Detroit energy, like, I don't know. I just can't get enough of it. Like, y'all are amazing people down there. So, like, that's awesome. Awesome. And I'm so glad that you said, you struggle with imposter syndrome because of, the abuse you faced from your father. And just, seeing how, like you said, it's not completely resolved yet, but like you're working through it. And how, I'm so glad that you found like solace in a place like Substack of all places, to, meet with me, Veronica, and all the other writers you've met with. Like, I see all the other writers you've met with that you connected with as well, and it's really just so amazing to see, how Substack can also be like, a place for people to, to, just to, show just to be able to be vulnerable with others, through those genuine connections, just because, a lot I've also struggled with imposter syndrome and lack of confidence a lot in my life, where, I'm not sure, maybe it's because I just grew up like that, but I was always very introverted and very quiet, never really said much. And, I guess, how other people thought of me, I would kind of always, just let them say what they wanted to say. I would never speak up for myself. I was always just, someone told me to do this, so I'll just do it. I'll just follow directions and not, say anything else. And, that's pretty much how I always grew up. And because of that, I guess, I would always let, what people thought of me sort of creep in into how I should feel about myself. And, I would sort of let them lead into how I should feel about myself and sort of use their opinions, for like also how I should feel about myself. And I always felt, like maybe, I should just be quiet. I should just not say anything. I should just, let other people's opinions sort of take over. And because of that, I always, I grew up, with such a huge lack of confidence. I would let others like define who I was. And that was, always, a problem that I struggled with. And like you said, like I found solace in, that I mean, I found solace, getting away from that and getting out of that space through writing. And it really, helped me, it really helped me come out of my shell, and even though, like, I'm still an introvert, like, I don't talk, like, that much, like, it allowed me to, like it allowed me to have more confidence to speak up when I need to, and to, speak up for myself and just know that, I deserve better, and, that, like, we all deserve better, and so, that's amazing, and so, I really love that and again, that's that connection there. Awesome, and so, like, just wanted to also ask you, just, a little bit more about, the program. We had like a 3-month journey together pretty much where, we pretty much walked together, was able to get, again, more of your story, some of your amazing insights, just where you came from as a writer, just, how your like writing routine was, how you wrote, your structure, how you think about writing, how you think about, your posts and things like that, how you like to ponder over certain things, how you like to, write, like you said, like the skeleton of your post with all of the facts and things like that, and just how in depth, all of your newsletter posts are, and, how important that is and how much, I love and respect that. And so just wanted to dive deeper into, just, is there anything you learned from the program that you feel like really, helped you out along your writing journey? Anything that you feel really, help prepare you better for, maybe certain things you may face, in the writing space? Or I know you said you really love that, what did we talk about? I forgot. It was something that we talked about that, you really liked and enjoyed. It was when we were talking about your writing timeline, and, it was the niche mixing. I think that's what it was.
That was golden, and I want to thank you for it, sister. Okay, that was golden. To
My
look
good
at the contrast between two elements is amazing. It allows the reader to see things from a different perspective that they didn't even realize themselves. Because as we know, everybody here is highly intelligent. So rather than to insult any reader's intelligence, I want to look at it from a different perspective. Okay, because as we know, I am short patient and I don't have a lot of time. So if you don't say what you want to say quickly, I done moved on to something else. And most people are the same way. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and just so for the audience, for any people that don't know what me and Margaret are talking about with like the niche mixing, it's basically like a lesson that, like a little lesson that I teach in the consistent writing blueprint. I pretty much this is pretty much, just everything like I learned through my 5 years. Or it's like completely original, something that I came up with just, as a writer myself. It's just sort of something to help, get, new writing ideas because, no one likes writing about the same thing over and over and over again, like every single time and having to post about it because it makes you feel like you're just on some hamster wheel and you're sort of, just stuck in a box. And no one likes writing like that. I would imagine Margaret, me, we both don't like writing like that either. And so the concept of niche mixing is pretty straightforward. It's basically just using something that you're already planning on writing about within your specific niche and sort of pulling something from a different niche, something that you're interested in, and using that and sort of mixing those two topics together to sort of, create something that's new and something that really, interests you. And so, and to keep your like interest and love for, your craft going because, you just never want to get sick of what you're writing about. And so it's basically, just, you being in your existing niche and not wanting to write about everything like in there and just like taking something from a different niche to also to mix in with your niche to, sort of, also keep it interesting for you, to keep it, to keep the passion going for you. And also, to, also maybe learn something that you haven't learned before in a different niche. And so it's really just like a win-win for you and your audience, and so I'm so glad like you really like enjoyed that. That was really something from like the brain, really just something I went through where I was just so sick of just writing about the same thing over and over again. I was just like, how am I going to do this? And so I'm so glad it really helped you out. And so something else, Oh, were you gonna say something?
Yeah, the one that you helped me with when you told me that I wrote about love and desire. And I'm like, it was one of my highest rated articles. Okay. And I'm like, Khadijah's on to something. You go, girl, you on fire.
Awesome. See, I love that. I love that. Again, and that's awesome that that's been your highest rated article. Like again, like when you're like more passionate about when you're passionate about like two different niches and you really want to just, explore and see where it takes you, like the audience will feel that too. And so, when you feel what you're writing, the audience will feel it too. Like it happens like way more than people think it does. And so that is amazing, and I'm so glad, like, that you like, that really helped you out, like, that's awesome, like, that's something that, I really wasn't expecting you to connect with that, like, the most. So the fact that you did is just, like, so awesome. And so, also, talking about, like, like, how has, being in the consistent writing blueprint, like, I know you're in the aftermath of everything, like, how did it like, did it change how did it, like, make your life better? Like, what kinda outcomes, like, what did it do for not just you as a writer, but you as a person, How did it, sorta, did it shift your mindset in any way or just, make you or just have you, like, evolve in any way that you feel like you may not have thought you would, evolve into before? Or, how has it helped you in that regard?
Well, as we know, the empowered leader is about evolving. Is webs and flows. Okay, and so I already had the necessary foundation, and your system just like the cherry on top. Okay.
That's awesome, that's so awesome. I always love how you're always, about evolving. And I know, like, again, you face, your recent transition of like you say, I know it was a hard decision for you to, real officially, go into retirement and things like that. And so just to see, you evolve, even while we were in the program, just to see you be able to handle those transitions very well. Because, in my case, like it's super hard for anyone to go through that. In my case, like I've always like not really been I've always hated change just because, I like, comfort and things like that. But like it took like a while for me to really realize that, it's okay to face it's okay to face discomfort as long as you're growing and you're getting to the destination that you want to. And as long as you're, evolving as a human being and things like that. And so like, that's amazing.
I would like to say this: if you don't feel uncomfort, you're not learning and you're not growing. If you feel uncomfortable, then you are going to become obsolete. Okay, because nobody waits. Time waits for no one. Okay.
That's an amazing point right there. Yeah, like time keeps going on with or without you. So it's about, evolving and, kind of reminds me of survival of the fittest, we gotta adapt. And so like that's like exactly. So like that's amazing. And so like is there anything that you like before we started working together, before we even took the program, was there ever, like, something, like a problem that you faced in your writing that was just, like, annoying to you, something that you really wanted to get solved, that you feel like needed to be solved, just in your writing in particular, that you felt like or in your newsletter or anything like that, that you felt like, I'm not really a fan of this, like, I wanna get this solved, or maybe something that you maybe an aspect of your writing that you felt like wasn't as good, and then when you entered the program and you may have seen some improvement or anything like that?
Well, when you and I connected and we talked about storytelling, that took me back to the past, and we always have to look at history. History is is like a it's a it shows us what happened, and that if over time things if you continue to repeat the same thing, you're going to get the same results. Okay, so what do? We need to do something different. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Can you ask me that again?
Oh, just, just, your kinda state, like, in your writing/newsletter, like, phase, like, before the program, and, if there was any problems you were trying to get solved, maybe something you were trying to grow in or anything like that?
Yes. The thing that I found is coming from a military background, there is no emotions because emotions, uh, it clouds judgment. Okay. I can write an article and with no emotion, and who's going to want to read that? Okay. If it doesn't, AI is prevalent as we know. Anybody can put an article in AI and spit it out and send it out to somebody. I'm not going to read that because you're not saying something that's going to connect with me on a deeper level. Okay. So I learned that I had to start opening up and telling people my story and this is what people want to hear. That's the reason why I turned the news off because it's saying nothing, absolutely nothing. It's a time waster, and it's taking my energy, my vibration, everything is taking me down, and I don't want to be there. People come to Substack because they want to be uplifted, they want to be motivated, they want to be inspired, and how you do that through telling personal stories. Okay, people are intelligent enough to understand that. If you're not genuine and you're not saying something with feeling or something like that, it's going to turn people off. That's it.
Exactly.
So as I started opening up and putting more feelings and emotions and everything into my articles, I saw the subscriptions rise. I seen the open rates rise, and then that's when we rise together. When we bring people together.
I love that, I love that. Storytelling is also something that I feel like people still don't understand how important it is and how amazing it is. Like, storytelling really helps. Like you said, like, like stories like have been told since the beginning of time, and like the Bible itself is full of, stories and things like that. And so like how we learn as humans is through stories. Like how we evolve as humans is through stories. And so for that to be sort of lost in the sauce with this whole like AI like movement that's going on right now, it's just that writings people are just gonna know that writing is kind of BS from as soon as they see it, because it just reads as hollow. And even though people talk about how good and convenient AI can be in like certain aspects, it'll never get that genuine emotion down,
No.
from like human to human. You'll never be able to make that connection with AI. And that's sort
No.
of something that, no matter people how tell me how great AI is, there are some aspects where it's useful, but like it's never gonna but like until it shows me that it can actually like replicate human emotion, which I doubt it will be able to, I'm still not gonna be like as like impressed or like gung ho on it like some people are. And so that's pretty much I totally agree with you, and that's where I stand on that. And so like just, also as, a little bit of, feedback oriented, if there was one thing that if I removed from the program that you wouldn't miss at all, what would it be? Just to, if there's anything you didn't like or anything that you would like me to remove, something that you didn't need, something that you feel like, I could do without that. What would it be? Just for future clients, maybe,
I appreciate that as a content creator. You want to improve upon your product, and that's why you at the top of your game. Okay, honestly, off the top of my head, I can't think of anything because I'm too focused on the benefits of what you offer.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. And yeah, like even that, like even if you can't think of anything or there's nothing like that's clear that's jumping out at you, like that's a great accomplishment. And so like even oh, and Ashley saying hi to Margaret. Oh,
Hi, Ashley.
hi Ashley. Hi. Thanks for all again, thank you all so much for joining in. And so that wow, that's awesome. But if you think of anything, like just like text or email me, Margaret, if you think of anything that you would like to change. Like, like I'm always here. And if you have any like issues with anything or you have any questions, just, text or email. Just so you know. Just because, I'm always looking for that. And your feedback is very valuable and important to me. And so, um,
Likewise, I
yeah,
got you always.
awesome. And so, you know, as we close this out, I just want to know, what are your goals? Because I know you were talking about, again, like the empowered leader, and you were sort of thinking about like sort of doing like a name change where you're like switching it to the transitioning leader.
No, because the empowerment is always in transition.
Mm.
Okay, because that's how we learn and grow. And if you're not in transition, then you're idle, and then that means you're going to become obsolete soon.
Mm.
I'm just I'm just call it like it is.
That's awesome. Exactly. Love that. Love that. Love how you're keeping the name. The Empowered Leader is still an amazing, like that's an amazing newsletter name. So I'm
Well,
glad
thank
yeah, I'm actually glad you're keeping it because I'm just like that. That's awesome. And so like what can we expect though from the Empowered Leader like going forward? Like I know again, like you just, retired and things like that. Like what can we expect from, this, version? I know you said you're always evolving as you should, we're human. What can we expect, from like the journey, of Margaret, down the line? What can we expect from the empowered leader down the line?
Well, I don't know because I just got somebody on LinkedIn asked me to contact them about a job with some company and being a business consultant. So we'll see. Uh, but for sure, the empowered leader is number one on my list. Okay, and
Awesome.
all you
Awesome.
got to do. Okay.
I love that. I love that. And also, I also wanted to touch on this subject because we were also talking about, just, Substack and just sort of how, it's okay to take a break from Substack if you're not feeling it, just sort of like the mental, toll it could take just, on just, being on Substack all the time and how, it can because with all the news and all the propaganda that's out there, it's really easy to just, get mentally deflated from all of that. And so, like, what are some ways, that you deal with, being on Substack? And also, like, what you talked about before, I know we talked about this before when you were in the program, about, being more vulnerable and being more open, since, we're both introverts and that's something that, we both, struggled with, How has that, give the audience some advice on that, just on being, because I know other writers that are introverts as well that probably may struggle with the same thing.
I'm gonna tell you, I am a very spiritual person. I just follow my intuition and what I just go with my gut. If something tells me, okay, this is fine, fine. If not, then I'll hold back. Because there's a time and place for everything, and when that time comes, then I will say what I need to say. I don't know if that answers your questions.
No, it does. No, it does. Like you see, you're like I just love how you say you say what you need to say when the time comes. Like that's something I always struggled with a lot when I was younger, and so just especially during I've gotten. I guess it kind of goes hand in hand because over these past few years I've definitely gotten more closer to God and things like that with my spirituality and things like that and just being more connected with him. It actually gave me more it gave me even more confidence to, speak up when I need to. And so just walking with God and being more closer with him has also been a huge, game changer for me and in my confidence and just being able to write and just be able to say what I need to say, and so I totally resonate with you on that as well. And so
May I say one more thing? I
yes.
before I do anything, I pray. Okay, and
Mhm.
I say, God, you, I am the vehicle. You work through me, and whatever message that is that you want me to deliver, that's what I deliver, and it never fails me. Whether it's writing, whether it's at work, whatever. If you don't want to say God, say Buddha, whatever. Okay, Whatever your faith is, hold on to that because that's what brings you through trials and tribulations. That's what help you in your writing. That's what help you to be successful through life. Okay.
Mm. Exactly. And I've also noticed it get better also with more prayer. It just helps so much. And so like, like that's honestly what like it's all about. It's all about, again for us at least is just, like staying, close to God and just maintaining, like that connection and just, being and just walking with him, walking by faith, leaving it to him and not having, so much stress on ourselves, not really listening to like the outside world and like all those stressors that are out there that, Satan, trying to, do the work and, make us give up and make us all frustrated and stressed out and, scared. But, just being more close to God has really helped me just, relinquish more control, like relinquish it to him and then just, focus on what I can control. And that's, my prayer, that's with my family, my friends, and just, also, again, having that support system also helps as well, and you've definitely provided that as well.
I 1 second, I want to share something with you. Okay, this is something that I keep at my desk as a constant reminder. Okay, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can change. Okay, the
Mm,
courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And every time I
mm,
get frustrated or pissed off about something, I'll turn and look at that and I'll say, "Thank you." Okay, let's keep it moving.
mm. Exactly,
Okay,
I love that, I love that. I need to look at that too. Do you mind if you can, like, send me that? Like, send me, like, a picture of that?
absolutely.
Like, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
I need to
Whatever gets you through the day. And if you say I can't get through the day, okay, make it a half a day. If I can't get through the half a day, make it an hour. If the hour is too long, make it 2 minutes. But you got to get through it. Whatever it is. You can't go over it. You can't go around it. You can't go under it. You got to go through it. And that's where
mm,
the valuable lessons come from in growth.
mm. Exactly. Just facing it head on and just not
Absolutely. No
exact
other way.
That's where the most growth comes from, and so, like, that's what it is. Exactly.
Well, I want to say I am a very religious person.
Mm.
However, I understand that the complexities of that, religion and politics. So therefore, I avoid those specific topics purposely because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. And then people are like, well, I think this and I think that and I think this.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna go to that. I'll say spiritual and I'll say certain words and then call it a day. And let's keep it moving because
Mhm.
we want to stay high. We don't want to go low. And
Exactly.
that's the things that Michelle Obama said, and I agree.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about that when you said that. When they go low, we go high. Yeah. I was just
Okay,
thinking about
that's right. You know, we can't be concerned about the devil because the devil is busy, and I look at that as powerful lessons. Okay, bring the challenge on. I'm gonna show you what I got. Okay,
exactly.
I'm gonna come lock and loaded. You come for me. Hey, don't come for me unless I call for you. Okay.
I love I love that reference to the housewives.
Yeah, Nene Leaks. That is my. She is persona of the goddess. Okay, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be Nene Leaks today. Okay, and I remember Sue Reed said Sasha Fierce. Whatever you need to be that day, be that. Okay.
Mm. Exactly. Oh, oh, this was such an awesome conversation. Oh, I really love it. Oh, so fun, so amazing. Everyone, again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Empowered Leader. That's Margaret's newsletter. Like she's doing amazing work over there and also collaborating with fellow writers and substackers too. She's talking about some amazing, amazing things. And again, is there anything you want to say, Margaret? Just to close out?
I want everybody to stay encouraged. Okay, step by step, thought by thought. You can make it. Okay, we are here today because of the choices that we made. Okay, and if we change our choices, we change our our uh, our our destiny in life.
Outcomes? Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Mhm. And also, when am I know I'm gonna come on your Substack live. When is that again? So we can
I'm
Oh,
sorry. I'm sorry. My schedule's changed daily. I'm sorry.
no, no,
I'll
no,
I'll touch
no, no.
bases.
Oh yeah, yeah, no, that's no problem. I think it's later. It's either in like later this. It's either later June or maybe early. I think it might be early July. Yeah, I
Is
think
that?
it's like
Oh, I'm sorry. It's
no, no,
after
no. I
June.
think yeah, it's
It's
after
after.
Juneteenth. Yeah, I think it's the week after the 4th of July. I think that's where it is. It's like the week after the 4th of July. So like if it. Thank you so much, Ashley. Wow, thank you so much for saying that. Woo, helping the next generation. Love that. And so yeah, so everyone be on the look. Yeah, but everyone be on the lookout for that. Everyone be on the lookout for. I'm gonna be on Margaret's live over at the Empowered Leader, like in the second week of July around there. And so like keep on a lookout for that. We're gonna get that set up and things like that and make sure like the dates work and things like that. And so that's going to be very very fun. Again, remember also yeah, 27 people. Thank you so much to everyone who showed up. Like it means so much. And so, what do you got this? Go ahead, Margaret.
I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. You are a rock star, and I am glad that we are connected. We're connected for life. Okay.
Mhm. Yep, exactly. That's exactly how I feel as well. Well, this
Thank you.
was such an amazing conversation, Margaret. Again, everyone subscribe to Margaret over at The Empowered Leader. It's an amazing newsletter, and she's doing some amazing stuff and collabing with other writers there as well. Yep, love that, Ashley. Love it. Again, everyone go read Margaret's last article. Go read it for real. And so, she's doing some amazing stuff over there. And again, thank you all so much for tuning in. 27 people. That's awesome. Glad you're all here to see it. And again, I'm gonna be on Margaret's live like around the second week of July, things like that. So look out for that. And so, with that said, seems like unless Margaret has any words to say or anything, we're gonna go ahead and end this. I'm gonna put the recording up, on Friday of this and maybe some clips as well. This was an amazing conversation, Margaret, and thank you so much for joining me. It means so much. This was like an amazing. This is so amazing, and I love getting those valuable insights from you and everything like that. You're such an amazing story to tell, and just thank you so much for blessing us with it, and just telling it to us. And so, with that, I'm gonna let Margaret, go off and do her thing. She's probably busy. So, I'll see you guys later. And thank you all so much. Have an amazing day, Margaret, and have an amazing day to everyone. Be blessed.
Thank you. You too. Bye.